Okay, I am now on page 488. Hopefully you have watched the visual learning called How Can You Find the Area of a Rectangle with Fractional Side Lengths. And we're going to go down and look at the Convince Me. So for the Convince Me, they do want us to use a drawing this time. So Mason has a rectangular garden that is 2/3 yards wide by 7/4 yards long. They want to know what is the area of Mason's garden. Use a drawing to show your work. So it's going to be a 2/3 by 7/4. Now, one of the things that we have to be careful with on a problem like this is we have an improper fraction. So when we're looking at the whole, it's going to be a whole, which is going to be one set, and then a whole that's going to be an incomplete set. So when I draw my grid, it's actually going to look like this time. My columns, I'm going to have 3 because of that denominator of 3. So I'm filling in, a different color, 2 of the 3 columns. When I do the rows, it's 7, but the whole is 4. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut this so that this is a whole, that's 1, and this is a whole, that's 2. But each whole then has to be cut into 4 parts. So it's going to be like this. Okay, and then I'll just grab another color so we can see the second whole. So the second whole is going to look like that. So when I'm doing, and I'm going to stop actually there, and I'm going to do the multiplication number model first. When I do the multiplication number model, I'm going to do 2/3 times 7/4. And if I multiply across, I get 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 4 is 12. I know that's improper. If you want to simplify it first before you turn it into a mixed number, that's fine. 14 over 12 turns into 7 over 6. I did half of 14 is 7, half of 12 is 6, and 7/6 still improper. I know that 6/6 makes a whole, so I have 1, and then I have 1/6 left over. So my answer is going to be 1 1/6. Now, how can we then apply it to this chart? So I have my 7/4, which means I'm doing 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. That's a whole. 5/4, 6/4, 7/4. So I'm only going to be going to here. Oops, I have too many over. Now, this is the part that you have to be careful about. So I actually have in one whole, remember this was the whole, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 12. On the second one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 12. Because remember, we're not going to count these because they didn't overlap in colors. It's only a single color there. So when I add 8/12 plus 6/12, 8/12 plus 6/12, I'm not including those, I end up with 14/12. That's what I had up there. So same thing, I simplify it down to 7/6, and I simplify it up to 1 1/6. This method might be a little bit more confusing because of that improper fraction. So you just have to remember when you're doing the drawing, it really helps if you're doing it in 2 separate colors, because if you do it all in pencil, for example, you're going to have a hard time seeing where the overlap is unless you do a different pattern. So when I do it in a different color, then I can say, okay, nothing in this bottom section was double colored, so I'm not going to include those at all. And then again, I'm doing my fraction out of 12 because one whole in this case, this part, has 12 total pieces. I'm not looking at the whole thing at once because I need to focus on what makes a whole. Okay, so that was the convince me. Again, might be easier to do this, and sometimes even if they ask for a drawing, if you take the time and you do that one extra step and do the number model first, it might help you to understand the drawing after. Okay, so sometimes we have to work backwards. Okay, we're gonna jump over to